if you clicked on this video, then you actually need to take a break. And I don't mean take a break as in like stop what you're doing right now and just watch this video quickly, then get back to what you're doing. No, I mean you need to actually take a break from what you're doing generally and just step back, assess yourself, and just think about things for a minute. Because if you're anything like me, you're just getting on with different tasks day to day, and you're doing it because you feel like you need to do it, but there's not really a sense of checking in terms of, am I going in the right direction? Is this actually what I want to do? Is this work helping me become who I want to become? Because at the end of the day, we're fed this narrative that we can do anything and everything, and that there shouldn't be a limit to what we can do. And I feel like that's been peddled to us over the last few years, what with the rise of things like AI and other automated technologies that have come about. And especially for young people, right? There's just this expectation that because we've got all this tech available to us, that we've grown up with this, we've not really known a world where, if you're under the age of 25, 30, you've not really known a world where there's no video games or no electronics to keep you entertained and distracted. There's just been so much that we've been used to and accustomed to in our life. I call a lot of it first world problems. And we just kind of get fed this narrative that because we have this at our disposal, we shouldn't waste it. We should do anything and everything that we can to maximize our potential. But what does that even look like to you? What does that even look like to me? I'm not even sure. I'm someone who counts myself as being highly ambitious, but at the same time, I know I've been incredibly lazy over the past 6 months or so. And I think that's not for the want of trying, because I think even if you try, you could be going in the wrong direction. And that can make you feel worse than actually doing the work itself, if that makes sense. So for me, it's this feeling of, okay, I need to actually think about where I want to go with my life, how I want to become as a person, and also in terms of like my career goals and my life goals and my personal goals, and stop putting myself on this comparison cycle with everyone else. And I'll tell you now, the main reason why I think I'm so like burnt out and just a bit overwhelmed is because I haven't really set a clear path as to who I want to become. What I mean by that is that in your life, you kind of just go along with things as the status quo. You are growing up being told that you get a job, you graduate from university, and then you just work until you're 65, 70. Now, maybe 30, 40 years ago that was true. Now it's not. Look at all of the news that you see around layoffs and industry shifts and all of that stuff. Being a lifer at one place is not the norm anymore, you know? And I think part of that stress and that reality makes you feel as if you need to become something extraordinary, someone special, because we're competing with so many different people in the marketplace that we have to just try so hard to be a one of one. But I feel like the more you try and be a one of one, the more burnt out and the more stressed you get, because every part of your life becomes about being this extraordinary person. And if you don't get to that level, then you're just a failure. You're just someone who is just completely unclear about what they're doing. And it may sound a bit abstract and a bit vague, but think about it like this. I've talked about setting goals on this channel, and I'm someone who's written them down as well in a journal, but that's where it ends for me. I don't stick it up on my wall. I don't actually think about, okay, how can I work backwards? How can I implement one little thing from this goal in terms of a daily routine moving forward in my day-to-day life? I haven't actually listed out all the bad habits that I do right now in my day to day and think about, okay, what's one very easy way I can start removing this from my life? You know, I haven't done all of these things. And it actually gets to a point where I'm sat here, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a day off from work. And I've just been on YouTube and sat down all day. I haven't gone for a walk. I haven't done any form of like relaxing activity. And I think this is one other trap that has made me feel really burnt out, is that because I'm someone who's focused on self-improvement, trying to be more productive, trying to get more things done, it's almost like on those days where I'm resting, like a weekend or a bank holiday, I actually feel that I need to be productive when I'm resting, which is crazy to me. And I think, again, that's because of the culture that we live in, the society we live in, which peddles the narrative of like, you've got to be productive in everything you do, whether that's being productive in your daily work, being productive with your relationships, being productive with how you rest. Like, this feeling of being productive has just spread all across our lives. And it's not for a malicious reason, I don't think. I think it's just purely the fact that we've become so used to expecting ourselves to be so productive that when we aren't, and we go through a lazy period, or we go through a period of being tired, we just beat ourselves up again and again and again, and then you just keep staying burnt out. Me personally, I feel like I'm taking quite a bit on at work, but also in my personal life. And then there's also these high expectations of what I want to do now and in the future. And it's just this jumbled mess. And I've never been good at mapping out my future self, but I think I need to actually start doing that in a very small, actionable way. Because I've also learned that if you write these big goals that are kind of vague, even if you do it in like the SMART format, then it still feels like a world away. And you kind of have to remap your identity a little bit to get closer to that. But one thing that I'm seeing as well is that in life and in, for example, personal finance, which is one field where I've been really focused on in my life over the last few years, there's just this constant message of optimize, 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 optimize this, optimize that. But very rarely do we sit back and go, okay, what is your long-term plan? What kind of life do you want to live? You know, are you someone who loves to spend your money on expensive things? Or are you someone who values experiences and relationships a bit more than actual material wealth? For me, I feel like I feel into the latter. And I think that's because at the end of the day, when you're old and you're on your deathbed, sorry to sound a bit morbid, what you're actually going to remember is not the amount of money you made and the amount of hours you worked. It's actually the experiences you had, the people you met, and the relationships you built. For example, I'm going to remember the first time that I ever jumped out of a plane in a skydive, because that was a life-changing event. I'm probably not going to remember how much money I made from a job 20, 30 years from now. And if I do, that's not going to bring back any sort of positive emotion. It's just a state of nothingness. So I think what I want to ask you to do is that if you are feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, then I hope that this video gives you a little bit more perspective into realizing that you're not the only one who is like this, but also that there is a way that you can start bringing things into your control a little bit. As people who follow Stoicism will say, focus on what you can control and ignore what you cannot control. So you can control your effort. You can control your plans and your ideas of where you want to go. You can control how you show up and your attitude and all that stuff. But what you can't control is the outcome. You can't control what others think. You can't control what's going to happen today or tomorrow. And you only have this very small little bubble of influence that you can actually control. So I think that's my main message to you in this video. And if you want to take one actionable step from this video, then I would say that you need to just take a step back. After watching this video, give yourself about 10 minutes to just write down whether you feel you're happy with where you're going right now. If not, try and write down what a good life looks like to you. Again, it doesn't have to be loads of money, a rich lifestyle, a nice car, because those things, you get used to them quickly and then the actual thrill of it wears off. Think about things like, do I want to go traveling somewhere? Do I want to go on a solo trip? Do I want to try and lose a bit more weight? Do I want to try and have more memorable, unique experiences until the end of the year? Whatever it is, write it down, stick it up on a wall, and work towards it. And even if you don't get there exactly to that end goal, you'll be a lot further on and you'll feel a lot better about yourself than if you just sat there, did nothing, and let time pass you by. Because yeah, you can think, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'll do this later. But then later comes around, you're still overwhelmed and tired, and this self-defeating cycle just starts again and again and again. So I hope you take action from this video. This is a problem that I'm really facing in my life right now, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Peace out.